Hello and welcome to the Sacco Insight podcast, where we amplifying people's voices. My name is George Ombado, the Executive Director of ACCOSCA. In our first episode, we are humbled to host His Excellency Honourable Wycliffe Musalia Mudavadi, the Prime Cabinet Secretary and the Cabinet Secretary of Foreign and Diaspora Affairs in the Republic of Kenya, as we unpack how cooperatives in Africa are stimulating organic growth. Thank you for coming to the Sacco Insight, where we are amplifying people's voices. And in the continent of Africa, continent of 1.3 billion people, we believe that Kenya has been instrumental in supporting the cooperative development. We are happy to have you here. As an industry, we are keen on understanding. I know you're an economist, Honourable Wycliffe Mudavadi, and how do you see the cooperative sector in the context of people getting empowered at the grassroots, particularly in the continent of Africa?
Mm-hmm. Well, perhaps before I respond directly to that question, let me just convey a very important message to the Sacco fraternity. I am here representing the President of the Republic of Kenya, President William Ruto, who unfortunately due to other engagements could not make it. But the fact that he sent me on this assignment is testimony to the fact that his government takes the cooperative movement extremely seriously and sees it as a very important partner in the whole field of economic transformation in this country and beyond. Now, coming to the issue that you raise, perhaps the first area that one comes to when it comes to saving is the cooperative movement. And no country can develop without savings. Savings are a very important aspect of getting an economy to be able to move forward. And the cooperative movement provides easy access, direct access, convenient access to an individual who would like to save some money to be able to use those resources and those savings during a rainy day. So if you look at it in that context, then one can see that the cooperative movement is a very, very big player in helping galvanize savings. Secondly, the cooperative movement is an entity that goes right to the heart of the individual. Very few financial institutions or financial efforts really go directly to the individual the way the cooperatives do. So this again is a very critical aspect of being able to facilitate the ordinary person, the person at the farm, the person at the shop, the person at the smallest economic unit that can be available. You find that the cooperative movement is actually there to support them.
Excellent. That just confirms that cooperative have the ability to amplify people's voices at the grassroots. Now, when you look at the continent, most of the countries have double digits unemployment. And I know you consistently, over a couple of years, always said we need to find a vehicle that can empower people. We believe cooperatives are the vehicle to empower people. What is your take on that?
It is absolutely correct. Cooperatives are essential in the outreach to the farmer. Agriculture, for instance, is extremely critical for the African continent. We are primarily graduating systematically on the value chain into manufacturing and so forth. But the primary producer And I give Kenya as an example. Agriculture employs the most people. It would be the low-hanging fruit if we wanted to generate more jobs for the young people in Kenya. It would be the low-hanging fruit if we want to increase our exports very quickly, whether you're talking of horticulture, you're looking at some of the traditional aspects like tea and coffee, and even you're looking at other value chains that can arise, the floriculture, for instance. So all this, if they're anchored well within a cooperative infrastructure, I can tell you there'll be a big difference.
Excellent. That makes a lot of sense. Lastly, Your Honor, one of the things that we've been working on, we're saying it's time for Africa. And time for Africa, I mean, this is where the world is focused on. Now, if you have an opportunity to speak to the rest of the world, and the cooperative movement in the world had to organize a meeting, and Africa was given a choice to host a meeting, what will you encourage those all over the world, 100+ countries, if Africa is really ready for a meeting, and if it's so, could Kenya be an option for Africa to host a meeting?
Absolutely. We are ready to host big meetings. Kenya has recently hosted quite a number of important meetings. For instance, we held the annual general meetings of the African Development Bank. Kenya has been the host of the Africa Climate Summit. Kenya has been the host in bringing in the IDA 21 Replenishment Conference in conjunction with the World Bank. We have also been at the center of hosting the Africa Fertilizer and Soil Quality Summit. So we have the capacity, and looking at it in the context that you are dealing with a population of 1.4 billion people, and then you are dealing with a demographic that is 70% young, I think that is where the future of the cooperative movement lies. And therefore, this young demographic needs to be inducted into the cooperative movement, needs to have the savings culture inculcated in them. And then it also needs, they need to have what you'd call wise borrowing inculcated in them, so that they can develop proper financial skills through the cooperative movement to be able to utilize their youth properly, borrow and utilize their money in a manner that they multiply the results of it. So this is the perfect place to actually communicate the importance of the cooperative movement going forward.
Thank you. And that confirms and our thoughts around Sacco Insight. And we're happy that we had the government of Kenya pledge and say, if Africa was to meet in credit unions all over the world were to meet in Africa, Kenya is a better place. From ACCOSCA, we know the top 10 Saccos in Africa, 7 of them come from Kenya, Kenya Police Saccos, Tima Sacco, and they're doing a good job. And there are certain models that would like to be borrowed. Cooperative Bank of Kenya, Cooperative Insurance of Kenya. This is the home and mecca of the cooperative movement. The movement in the continent will appreciate and acknowledge that Kenya will be willing to front forward for the global movement of 100 countries to come to Kenya. Thank you, our Prime Cabinet Secretary.
I can tell you that it's opportune. This may just be the mecca for the cooperative movement.
Thank you.